Hello guys, welcome back to another stream. So let me see if we were live. So we're building another project, and this will be a BMI calculator. So in this, you can basically choose if you're male or female, and thereafter you can actually give your height and your weight, and you can calculate your BMI. So if I just do 175, well, let's say 70 kilograms, like that, I can basically just get my, body mass index. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and start this project, shall we? So before I do that, let me just quickly check if we are doing correctly. Check. That's great. Just like that. And then I'm just gonna do that. And there we go. Give me a second, guys. And do that. Do that too. Like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this project. So what I'm gonna do is whip out my VS Code. I'm also gonna do uncomment that, whip out my VS Code, and just like that, let's do that, and we'll basically just start a new file that says index.html. We need 3 of those. Let us style.css, and I'm gonna quickly make my boilerplate go live, just like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So next thing I need to do is also make a script.js. Let me see the chat. Just like that. And yeah, let's go ahead and actually do this. So let me quickly just see if we're just live and I'm not trolling, right? If my chat's working. Give me a second, guys. I think we are live. So that's great. So I'm just gonna go and just, see this. So what I'm gonna do here is, first thing, I'll just name it BMI Calculator. Just like that. So that'll be, body mass index calculator. Next thing I need is I'll add a CDN link to use font awesome icons, so that will let me use font awesome icons. And also do, by the way, if you want the source code of this project, it will be linked down in the description box below. So if you want to check that out, it will be right there. You don't have to do anything. Don't ask me in the comments. Sometimes I forget I get it, but most of the time I just have it down in the description, so you can just check that out. Okay. So next I'm just gonna link my style.css just like that, and also link my script.js file just like that, and let's start to code this, okay? So the first thing that I need is, since this is a very small project, good evening, sir. It's been a long time. It has been a long time. Hello, Brian. Welcome to the stream. You're the first one, actually. Welcome to the stream. How was your day? How are you doing? So today we'll be building a body mass index calculator. So if you want to show you how it will look like, whoops, it will look like this. You can basically select, give your thing, and boom. See this? I accidentally put 754 kilograms, but yeah. I'm not late. Yep, you are not. So let's start the thing. And what I'm gonna do here is basically I'm just gonna make a div with a class of calculator container. So this will be the main container. I mean, you can also wrap this in main if you want, but it doesn't really matter because it's just a normal thing, so I'm not gonna do it. Another thing, I'm going to make a header here that will basically have h1 saying BMI calculator. It'll just be a normal header. And here I'm just gonna add a description here. So I'm just gonna add a random description I picked from ChatGPT. Format the document so it looks nice. It just says body mass index is a measure of fat and based on height and weight that applies to adult and women. So that makes sense. And what I'm going to do here is basically now I'm going to make a gender selection div, right? So what I'm going to do here is do gender and do gender selection. This will be the outermost div for our, the thing. Here I'm going to add a section title and give select gender, just like that. This will be H1. You might as well just make it like H2 or something like that. But to be fair, it will not make sense. So I'm just gonna put it as div. Next thing I need to do is put gender options here. So this will be the first option. This will be first option. So it will be a radio. So I'm just gonna do radio, just like that. I'm also gonna give an ID of male since it's a male selection, and also give a name of gender. And also give a value of this will basically send male as a value if this is selected. So by default, if nothing is selected when you load the program, this will be by default, it will be checked, right? That's how we're gonna build it. Now it will also need a label because it's just a random dot here that's just checked. That doesn't make sense, right? So what I'm going to do is give a male that will link this input field with this label, right? And here I'm just going to give a class of gender card, and inside this label tag I'm just going to make a div saying gender icon. So this will be our gender icon div, gender icon, and also have a male icon to a class list, and also gonna give another icon tag and just give a class of male, just like that. So that will give me a male icon, just like that, and also give a text. So I'm just gonna do gender text and give male. So that is one, right? Next thing that I need is I need another gender option. So another one will be for female. So here I'm just gonna type female here, gender, also give the same here. Give for female, do female, female, and just like that, change that to female. So let's style up until here, right? We can just slowly style the thing, and yeah, that should be fine, right? So here what I'm gonna do is basically first start by, the normal thing. That is to give margin as 0. If you guys cannot see, I'm just going to zoom in and give margin as 0. I'm going to give padding as 0 and box sizing. I'm going to give a border box, just like that. Next thing I need to give or style is the body here. So body, I'm going to give font family set to that. I don't need system UI here. I'm just gonna cut that. And here I'm just gonna do, give me a second, I'm just gonna do background color set to a grayish color. So I'm just gonna do FA, just like that. Also give min height, set that to 100 VH, and also give display flex and align items set to center, and justify content set to center. So if I just do it here, as you can see, it is right in the center. And here I'm also going to give a padding of 20 pixels, just like that. Next thing I need to do is style the container. So I'm just going to do calculator container. So that's the main, main container. Now here I'm just going to give a background of white. I'm going to scroll down actually. And also give a border radius of 12 pixels. Also give padding set to 40 pixels. Box shadow set to 0, 4 pixels, 20 pixels. RGBA, set to 000 and 0.08. And also the width set to 100%. Max width set to 500 pixels. That will be relatively smaller, just like that, because the max width will be capped at 500 pixels. Next thing I need to do is give a border. So I'm just going to give border solid, give a whitish gray color. So I'm just going to do that, just like that. And yeah, this should be fine. That's the outermost container for the styling for our outermost container. Next I need to style the header, so I'm just going to do margin bottom set to around 32 pixels. And that's for the header container. So it basically gave a 32 pixel gap around this, around the bottom. So it just gave 32 pixels gap here, right? Now to style the h1. So here I can just call that using header h1 since it's inside the header, right? So you can basically call it like that. Now for the color, I can basically give a grayish color that will suit the most. So I have a hex color here, so I'm just going to give it that. Doing 6C, 7.5, and 7D. So that is the color I'm giving it. Font size, I'm just going to give it a little bit less, saying 0.9 rem. Or I can just give 0.95 rem. And here I can give it a and I can give it a thing of line height. I can give it a 1.5 rem, just like that. Now next thing I can do, so I was supposed to give 2 rem instead of 1 rem. There we go. Now for the thing, I also need to give a font weight, I think, of 700. And this also needs a margin bottom of 12 pixels, and just like that. Next thing I need to do is give a p tag. So here it will basically have a line height, the same line height. So I'm just going to give a line height of 1 point. Instead of 1 point, I think 1.5 is great. So I'm just going to give a line height of 1.5. I better give rem here. I'm just going to do 1.5 here. And here I'm also going to give a font size of 0.9 rem. A little bit bigger. Perfect. And also going to give a color of same. Either going to give this a color, or I can just give this a black color and give this color to this. Yeah, just like that. And here I can just do section title. I can give a color of a kind of a black, so I can give 212 529 here, just like that. And here and give a font weight of 600, right? Font size of 1 rem. I also give a margin bottom of 16, or you can just put 2 rem here, just like that. Now for gender selection, which is the outermost div here for this, right? What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna give a margin bottom of 2 rem, just like that. Oops. And here I'm just gonna do gender options. I'm gonna go display flex. I think I misspelled the thing, right? I didn't wrap it inside another div. Oops. So I need to do gender options. So inside this, I'll put all of my code here. Inside that, format the document here. So now if I do gender option display flex, it should work. I kind of forgot to do it. Now I'm also going to give a gap of around 16 pixels, just like that. Now to style the individual buttons, right? What I'm going to do here is do gender option input. So I'm basically going to select the type with radius. I'm just going to do that. And now it will select the thing, right? I'm just going to do display none. So that will basically remove that, right? Because we don't want it. What we do want is the actual selection in the card. So I'm just going to do gender dash card. I'm just going to do background and do F8, F9, F8, the same thing. And also do border 2 pixel solid and do E9, ESCE, just like that. And do border radius set to 12 pixels. Also do padding set to around 24 pixels and 16 pixels, just like that. And also do text align set to center here, and also do cursor set to pointer, and do transition all 0.2 seconds at ease, and also do display flex, just like that. Do display flex, flex direction set to column, and align items set to center, and do gap around that, do 8 pixels, just like that. Now I also need to style the things. I'm just going to do gender option, do flex 1 to fix that, and do pause position it relative. So that will basically, flex 1 will basically add the flex row, flex shrink, and flex basis property. It will basically configure it, which is pre-configured, by the way. But, you know. Now I can do this by just saying that. Now after that, what I need to do is set a hover, right? We will every time you make something or the card, you also always have to make a hover effect for that. It will just make the whole experience a lot more user interactive. So here, what I'm going to do is do 49, 50, 57 is kind of a grayish color for the dark grayish color for the border color. Now since I don't want to be, this is a radio, right? What I can do is do gender option. I can do that, and we'll see the input and do type, set that to radio. Oops, and see if it's checked, and if it is, I'm just going to change the gender card to background set to that, right? You'll see if it's checked. Did I put the thing to check? Input radio checked. I'll basically uncheck that. There we go. Just like that. I want that to be checked. So if it's checked, I'm just also going to change the border color to the same exact color and set the color to white, just like that. Now that's how it will be. However, I also need to style the icon, right? So what I'm going to do here is icon right now looks really small, so I can just do width, set that to 60 pixels, and do height, set that to 60 pixels as well. So that's the outer div. That's why we made the outer div, which is where is it? Right there. And set this to border radius, set that to 50%. I want it to be perfect circle, that's why. Do display flex, I want the thing to be at exact center, so I'm just going to do line item center. Oops, justify contents, set to center. Do font size, do 1.5 rem. And do margin bottom, set to 4 pixels. So that's how it will be. Now here, what I'm going to do is do male for the male icon. The background will be this color, so it will be E3, F2, and FD, just like that. And color will be kind of bluish color, so I'm just going to do 197 and 6D2, just like that. Select between those two. Now here, the female div, like the female option, is not styled yet. So for female, what I'm going to do, it will have a kind of a pinkish color because it suits females, you know. I'm just going to do FCE for EC, just like that for the female icon. I'm sorry, there we go. And here I'm just going to set the color to kind of a reddish color, so I'm just going to do C21 and do 5885B, just like that. Now, if the thing is checked, right, when the thing is checked, I want this color, which is right now is blue, I want this to be white. So to do that, I can basically select this, which is basically selecting that, right, the card right now. Now, I can go one step beyond because right now, it is selecting the card, which is right this. I wanted to select the icon, so you can just type male icon, which is this right here. I can basically call that male icon and just do background set to white. So now if I do in male icon, it will change it to that. So but I also want it to be in the female icon. What I can do is do comma, select the whole thing again, paste that there, change that to female, format document. And now the both effect has been made, right? Now for the gender text, I can do gender, put that to gender text, which is this right here, the male female text basically. I'm not going to do too fancy. I'm just going to set the font weight to 600, and that's pretty much it. That is all I'm going to do for that. Now let's go ahead and style other. And yeah, we should be fine after that, right? So after the gender selection div, that's all we have to do here, right? So after that, what I'm going to do here, after that is the input sections. So the input section you saw in the intro, that will basically make that now. Do input sections, do input groups. It'll be grouping, right? So what I'm going to do here is basically, this will basically be the main div, right? Inside this, I'm just going to add a input field here. So I'm just going to do first input field. I'm just going to make a div for that. So input field. Inside this, I'm going to make a label first. Do label, L for height, and do class, do input label. Give me a second, guys. There you go, just like that. And here what I'm gonna do is also give, here's height, right? So this label is for height, and we have give it a class saying that. So I'm just gonna say enter height. Oops, spelling of height in centimeters. Just like that. Next thing I need to make is the actual container. So I'm just gonna do input container. Inside there will be two, that is, one is that. This will be a number. Width, I don't need a name here, so I'm just gonna close that. I do need an ID of height, and also give a placeholder of 175, so just a placeholder of 175, and do minimum. It will set the, by default will be, minimum will be 1, and max will be 300. Oops. And the step, which is the incrementer, it will be set to 0.1. So whenever user just sets that, it will increment from that. So this will be 0.1 will be in the incrementer. And yeah, next thing I need to do is set a thing. I'm just gonna do span. I also give a class called unit and just type centimeter here. And yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Now, one thing again I need to do is give another value for this. So I'm just gonna do that, and here I'm just gonna give, so this is for, this is the same input field. This will be for weight, just like that. It will have the input container. Inside, I'll just say input weight in kilograms. So this will be a kilograms. So do kilograms, and it will also be the same container. It will have a number. ID will be weight. That makes sense, right? Placeholder will be 75. Why not? Minimum height will be, minimum value will be 1, and max it will just can go to 500 kilograms. That is a lot, but you know, it's fine. And also do kg. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So after that, what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna give, so this will all be for input sections. So you see the thing here, that will be all for that, right? Now let's go ahead and style this. So here, first of all, I need to call the input section. So I'm just gonna do input section, and here just do margin bottom set to 32 pixels, and that should be it for the input sections. Next thing I need to do is for the main grouping container, which is input group, I'm just gonna do a display display flags and do gap set to 20 pixels. Here I'm just gonna do input field set to flex 1, just like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So next thing I need to do is to input label. I'm just gonna do input label, set that to display block, which is Harsh Bhargav. Hey, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome to the stream. How are you? How are you? So that is that. So this is the input label here. Next thing I need to do is style that. So next thing I need to do, oh my god, I'm just gonna do color set to that, font weight a little bit darker, and also do margin bottom set to 8 pixels and do font size set to 1 rem. It's by default set to 1 rem, but yeah, make sure it is at 1 rem. Now next thing I need to do is set the input. So that will be input container, oops, doing position set to relative, setting display flex. I'm fine, how are you? I'm good, man. How are you? Yeah, we're making a BMI calculator using HTML CSS and JavaScript. We're doing align items set to center, and also do backgrounds set that to this color here. I also give border a 2 pixel solid, the same as this, and do border radius set to 8 pixels, and do overflow set to hidden, and do transition set to border color 0.2 seconds at ease, just like that. And yeah, so if I just do that, we should be fine. So that should be fine. I can just format the document just like that. And here, okay. So to actual container, right? So what I'm going to do here is set the label, which is this, and the container, right? Now for the container, so I'm just going to do that. I forgot to give padding, I think. So, right, okay. I'm basically just gonna set the thing, so give me a second. So here, I'm just gonna do focus within and just change the border color set to that, just like that. And yeah, there we go. Next thing I need to do is style the input field. So here what I'm going to do is style the actual input field. I'm just going to do that, do input, do flex 1, and set the padding to 16 pixels and 20 pixels. Border set to none, and do background set to transparent. Font size set to 1.2 rem. Also do font weight set to 600, and do color set that to that. Oops. And do outline set to none because outline is kind of ugly. And do text lines set to center, just like that. Now for the placeholder, I'm just gonna copy that, put a placeholder, do color, set the color to ADB 5BD, and do font weight set to 400. And yeah, just like that, I think it should be done. Next for the unit, which is these right here, I need to call them, so I'm just going to do unit and just set the padding to same as these because it will just make the most sense here, just like that. Now color, I'm just going to give them a grayish color, which is this one right here. And also gonna do font weight set it a little bit darker, and do font size, I'm just gonna set to 1 rem, which is default, but yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's move on to next section, which actually is the last section. So this is a calculate section. We also need a button, right? That basically calculates everything. So what I'm gonna do here is basically make a button here. Just make a calculate section. Inside this, I'm just gonna make a button with a class of calculate button, and also have a on click of calculate BMI. So it will basically trigger that. Obviously this function does not exist. We have to make this function in JavaScript, which we will do in a bit. Okay, so this basically just understand that basically calculates the BMI, and I also give it a label or content. I'm just gonna do calculate BMI, just like that. Now to style it. Now to style this, first I basically need to style the actual container. So I'm just gonna do calculate section, which is the outermost container of that. I'm just gonna give margin bottom of 2 rem, as I have done with everything other weird things. So here I'm just gonna do calculate section, change that to button because we need to style the button, right? Here I'm just gonna give a width of 100%, just like that. Give the background to the signature black color that we have, set the color to white, give border to none, and give a border radius of 8 pixels. Also give a padding of 18 pixels. Give a font size of 1 rem, font weight of 600, cursor set to pointer, transition all 0.3 seconds at ease. Now I need to make a hover for this. I'm just gonna do hover background set to this right here. So we'll basically do that. And when you click it, what I can do, when you click it, I'm just gonna translate it a little bit down, right? Just gonna do active here and do transform translate at 1 pixel. So when you click it, it kind of has that clicky effect. And do 2 pixels, just like that. It has the clicking effect. Now for the actual result container, right? Now we have made the everything for that. So that's, we have the thing, we also have the selectors, we also have the incremental buttons, just like that. Everything is correct, right? Now one thing we haven't made is the results section. And now we'll basically display every single one of our result in our result div. So here I'm just gonna make a result div, which basically has an ID of result and also a class of result. Here we have a couple of values. So one is BMI value, right? What is the actual BMI value? Also gonna give this a BMI value ID with the camel casing here. Here, basically by default, it will set to 0.0. You know, makes sense, right? And here, I'm just gonna do BMI category. We'll basically output different category for, you know, it's a normal weight, if it's underweight or obese or whatever, right? I'm just gonna do category and do normal weight here. This will be normal weight, and I'm just gonna paste that. This will be the description right there. I'm just also gonna change that description just like that. So I basically have a random description, which is, again, I ChatGPT'd it for dummy as a dummy data, so I'm just going to put that there. And 1 basically will be another learn more kind of thing, what to do when you think, when you click on that link, nothing happens. But for styling, I'll just make that. So I'm talking about a learn more button. So I'm just going to do make href with a learn more. The link will be link will lead to nothing, and it will only say learn more. Also put a question mark. How about that? And yeah, that's pretty much it. So next thing I need to do is style this. So for styling this, what I'm gonna do is basically, give me a second, guys. I'm basically just gonna go to CSS and start styling it. So first thing we have to style is the value here, which is this thing right here. So what I'm going to do here is do BMI value, call that, right? All that. I also need to style the outermost container here. So actually let me first do that. So I'm just going to do result background set to this right here, and do border radius set to 8 pixels. Also do padding set to 2 rem and 1.5 rem. Also give a text align of center. Do border 1 pixel solid of E9 ECEF. And also do opacity set to 0. The reason I'm doing this is by default it will not be shown. It makes sense, right? It will not be shown. I'm gonna uncomment this for now because it will only show, we'll use JavaScript for it, it will only be shown if you calculate the thing. So if you hit calculate by giving some data, right? Here I'm just going to do transform, set that to translate y at 10 pixels, do transition, all 0.3 seconds at ease, just like that. Now we'll make another state for this, saying results dot show, set the opacity to 1, also to transform to its original position. Now instead of this, what we can also do is set the display none value, right? Display none value and set to display block or something like that. But for now, I'm just going to do opacity set to 0. Now here what I'm going to do is for value, right, for the BMI value, I'm just going to set the font size. First thing I need to do that. Now font size, I'm just going to set that to 3.5 rem. So I'm just going to do 3.5 rem, set the font weight to 700, set the color to our signature black, margin bottom set to 8 pixels, line height set to 1, just like that. Do category underweight, set the color to 0D6 E and FD. So this is kind of a bluish color here. Now for the underweight, so this is the thing, so right, so what we'll basically do is give different color for different values, right? Now underweight, I'm just gonna make it a blue. Now how we will do is we'll basically just push for value, we'll basically push this class list into that. So we'll basically kind of look like this. So we have class here, we'll basically push this category right here. So kind of look like this, right? So yeah, so the reason I'm doing this is if I show you in our already made thing here, if I just calculate, let's say I am really tall, 200, and I'm really we'll basically style that for the thing, right? Now what I'm going to do here is we'll basically just do that and give a different thing. Alright, I'm just going to copy that, paste it 4 times because we have 4 parameters here. The first one was normal, underweight. Next is normal. Next is overweight. Oops. And the last one is obese. So here the normal will be green, right? So I'm just going to do 1987574. It's kind of a green, dark green color. So for overweight, I'm going to use yellow. So I'm just going to do FD7 and do E14. So that will basically be a dark yellow color. The last one will be red. So I'm just going to give a reddish color. So I'm just going to do DC35 and do 45. Just like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So next thing I need to style is the description here. So I'm just going to copy that. And the thing about it, I haven't styled the BMI category, right? So I'm just gonna copy the category first, put it right over here, just like that, and do font size. Do font size set to 1.25 rem. Do font weight set to 600, and margin bottom set to 16 pixels, just like that. Oops, give me a second. I'm back. I just got a phone call. I'm sorry, guys. So next thing I need to do is basically so after that, what I'm going to do is basically just do BMI description, do color, set that to that, do font size, do 1 rem or kind of a little bit smaller, 0.9 rem. And here also do a line height. Oops. Line height of around 1.4 and do margin bottom set to 16 pixels. And yeah, that should be it. Now, the last thing I need to do is make the learn more. So I'm just going to do learn more, do color, set that to that, and do font size set to 0.85 rem. And do text decoration, set that to none. Border bottom set to 1 pixel, solid. Kind of a grayish color. Just like that. And here I'm just gonna do transition color 0.2 seconds at ease, just like that. I think I haven't. Okay, there we go. There we go. I'm just gonna copy that, paste that there, and give it a hover effect of a color. I'm just gonna change the color to that. There we go. Now we have to do some media queries. So for media queries, I'm just gonna do medias. We'll only do for 600 pixels, so I'm just going to do 600 pixels and do calculator container. I'm just going to change the padding to 1.5 rem and about 20 pixels. Oops. For smaller screens, right? Next thing I need to do is set the input group input group to flex direction column, just like that. Gap set to 16 pixels. We're going to do we can do 1 rem here. Next thing I can do is set the header h1, give it a font size of 1.75 rem, and at last I can also give a BMI value, font size set to 3 rem, just like that. And for gender card, I'm gonna actually make gender card a little bit smaller. Do padding, I'm just gonna reduce that to 20 pixels and 12 pixels. And yeah, there we go. That is our BMI calculator. So one thing I need to do is set the opacity to 0, and there we go. That's right. That right there is our styling and HTML for a BMI calculator. So now we have to go ahead and make, or write logic to it. So this will be a pretty simple things. So I'll explain everything, and yeah, this will be a fun experience. So what I'm going to do here, since we have already made this responsive, right? So we can go ahead and do that. Now the first thing I need to do is make a function. So first we have to make a function that we basically defined here, saying, where is it? Calculate BMI. So I'm just going to copy that name. So this is the function that calculates a body mass index, right? The first thing that we need is we need to get height and weight. So we'll do that using the APIs of JavaScript DOM. So I'm just going to do parse floats. So since this is on string by default, right? We need to convert that into float. So do get element by ID and get the height. Now we don't need the DOM, but we need the value of that DOM, which is right just like that. This will basically give us the value, whatever value we write here. Get it? So after that, what I need to do is I can just change that to weight. We need weight. Change that to weight just like that. The last thing that we need is the results div. So I'm just going to do name the variable result div and do document.get element by ID. We'll get the results. So I'm just going to format the document. And yeah, that is the DOM that we need for now. There are 3 main DOMs, right? Now we'll check if any of the things are invalid. The first thing we need to check if the user actually entered some kind of thing, right? Like what if user just left it blank? So that is the condition that we need to check. First we'll check if the height exists. Next thing I need to check if the weight exists, right? And the next thing, or next exception that we need to check is if height is less than or equal to 0. What if user entered a negative height? And that does not make sense, right? We also have to check for that. Now next thing I need to do is check if weight is less than or equal to 0, same as height. And if it is, what I'm going to do is just do alert. I'm just going to alert the user. We'll basically make an alert pop-ups saying please enter valid height and weight values, just like that. Now there is no point in sitting and being in this function, so I'm just going to return from the function, right? So next thing what I need to do is convert the height into centimeters or meters, right? What I'm going to do here is do const height in meters. So do height divided by 0 since it's in centimeters, and to convert centimeters into meters, we have to divide it by 100. And next is the actual BMI, right? I'm just going to do const BMI, make a variable of that. So the actual formula to calculate body mass index is weight divided by height in meters times height in meters. Okay, so that's the formula for that. So next thing that we need to do is basically update the values. So I'm just going to do document.getElement by ID, do BMI value. If we're thinking what's the BMI value, so if I go here, that's the value here. So it'll basically update the value from 0, 0 to whatever that has been calculated, right? Change the text content to BMI, and I'm just going to set so that the decimal values will only be limited to 1 digit after decimal point, just like that. So next thing I need to do is update the other things like the category, the description, and the category class, right? Because we have different category class, I mean their colors depending on what category they are. So I'm just gonna predefine some variables saying category and do category class. The third one will be description, just like that. Makes sense. Now we'll basically make if else. Now you can also use switch case, but I'll use if else. Do BMI if the BMI is less than 18.5, right? So do category. I'm going to set the category to underweight. Okay. I'm also going to set the category class to category underweight, and description, set that to, I have a ChatGPT text or description. It basically says your BMI suggests you may be underweight. Consider consulting a healthcare professional about healthy weight gain strategies. So this is one thing, right? One condition. Now I have a bunch of conditions. So if BMI is less than 25, we'll basically do that, and we'll basically have the same thing just with variable values, so different values. So this right here is normal weight. I'm really Amir, welcome to the stream. Thank you. So do normal weight. Amir, welcome to the stream. We're almost done with our calculator. We only need to add a few more conditions and update the DOM, and after that we should be done. So here what I'm going to do is set the second condition is for the normal weight, right? So I'm just going to add that and set the category to normal, and I have another ChatGPT text for normal, because I am not a healthcare specialist. So yeah, I mean neither is ChatGPT, but at least ChatGPT is more knowledgeable in healthcare than I am, right? So yeah, there we go. So I'm just gonna copy this, oops, and paste it here. So increase the value to 30. This will be for overweight, so I'm just gonna do overweight and change the category to overweight, just like that, and change the description to another ChatGPT text or description, like that. And yeah, so next thing I need to do is again, actually for the last thing, what I can do here, I'm just gonna copy paste for now, and I'm just gonna, it's the last condition, so I can use else. And here I'm just gonna set that to obese, copy that, paste that here, that will be decapitalize that, and add another description. So by the way, if you want the code, it will be linked down in the description. I've said that in the intro at the beginning, again, because people like these. So it will be linked down in the description box below, guys. Yeah. So the next thing I need to do is basically just now update the DOM. So I'm just gonna do const category element. So it'll be actual category, which is this right here, right? I'm just gonna do category, set that to document, get element by ID, get the BMI category, and set the category to category element dot text content, and set that to category. There we go. Next is category dot element dot class name. I'm gonna set that to I'm just gonna set to BMI category. Now this is the default class, right? Now we need to add another class to that. So what I can do here is, since our class is category class, I can just do that. Now this is converted into string. I need that to be a dynamic variable, so I'm just gonna do that. Put that into string interpolation. That is just dollar and curly bracket. Next thing I need to change is I also have to set the description. So I'm just gonna do document but get element by ID. I'm just gonna get the BMI description, which is this right here. Set the text content to description, just like that. Now the last thing that I need to make, right, is set the results div. Now results div by default is set to opacity to 0. If you guys can see here, right? I'm going to change that to show if the user actually hit calculate, right? I can do if the user calculates a thing, and I'm just going to do ls to class list and add. I'm just going to add show, just like that. That'll basically add show class to our results div, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's for the function. Now we have to add other event listeners. So when you're typing something, if user hits enter, I also wanted to listen to the enter and hit calculate BMI. So what I'm going to do here is just do document.get add event listener. It will listen to a key press, and so I'll put that event object into E and check if the event object or event is a enter. So I'm just going to do enter here. Oops. And if it is, I'm just going to run the calculate BMI function. That is the first event listener. So another event listener, I need to check if what you do here is check if document.get element by ID. I need to check if height is less than 0. So if it is, I'm just gonna set that to 0, right? What I'm gonna do here is do height dot add event listener. I'm just gonna do input, listen to input, and that input. So I'm gonna check if this being the this DOM here, oops. If this DOM is the value on that input field is less than 0. If that is, I'm just gonna set the value to 0. It'll basically allow the user to not allow the user to enter a value that is less than 0. I'm gonna do the same for weight, right? Change that to that, listen to that, and that should be pretty much it. Let's see if there are any errors. I don't think there is. This is an already made one. Let's see if we run into errors or it will just work. So the first thing is the male and female, right? I'm just gonna have the same